A lot of people around this thing are dead. A lot of people gone.
People do that, miss. Most people I ever knew are gone.
Hey guys, Ryan and Greg here, breaking down another episode of True Detective Season 3. What episode are you?
We're on 5, I believe.
Wow, 5.
Yes, now, again, spoilers ahead, so if you haven't watched this episode yet, get out of here. What are you doing here? Go watch it, and then come on back.
Also, subscribe to the channel because we have breakdowns for every single episode, and we're going to be here the entire season long.
All right, let's do this.
Now, episode 5 is titled If You Have Ghosts. It's the second episode that Nick Pizzolatto himself directed. He also directed episode 4, so he has 2 this season. If You Have Ghosts, you might sound familiar if you're into psychedelic rock. Rocky Erickson, a singer-songwriter back in the day, he wrote a song that was called If You Have Ghosts.
You have ghosts, and you have everything.
Now, much like most of Erickson's music, this one deals with loneliness surrounding the paranoid schizophrenic. The lyrics are all over the place, and it feels pretty on the nose.
Yeah, for a guy we may know from this season, Wayne, yeah, I have a feeling that's what they were going with this song.
You can imagine how isolating the feelings that Wayne is going through at this moment when his memory is failing him and he doesn't know what is real, what's true anymore, and he's missing moments that literally happened in his life.
It's getting more intense than
and
this
now
episode.
He's seeing like real hallucinations in his day-to-day in 2015.
Yes.
Now, as you and I talked about last episode, those ghosts probably refer to people that he killed throughout his life, and they're coming back to haunt him, as we've seen in these 2015 storyline. So there's really no escaping what is going through Wayne's mind at the moment.
No, he's in his own prison, and he's running around. There's nothing. It's getting worse and worse as we get through each and every episode as we go down the line here. Now, for all my Castle Rock fans out there, this may seem very familiar, the style they're trying to go through with his ghost popping up at random times. A certain episode from the first season, which is, I think, one of the best episodes ever. If you haven't seen it yet, go out there. No spoilers, though. I'm just going to leave it there.
Now, this whole conversation of ghosts also made me think back to season 1 of True Detective, specifically episode 1. There's a moment when Russ Cole and Marty, they're like talking in the car, and Russ looks out the window and he sees a small girl waving at him. And then he asks, do you believe in ghosts?
You believe in ghosts?
What do we say about silent reflection?
Now, we don't know who actually saw the girl. If she's there, if she's real, if she's just an aberration in his mind, or if it's just truly a girl that he's looked over and saw on the side of the road. But the idea of ghosts, of these, the kids being abducted and no longer with the community, and the entire community is kind of completely destroyed over the absence and the void of these children. And no matter what they do, there's never getting that back.
No, never.
All right, so we start off in 1990. What's going on in 1990?
The detectives are looking up everything again. They're going back to the case. They got everything on the board. And one of the things we noticed right off the top is Lucy Purcell. She is dead.
Right.
And now, remember we talked about the Sharon Stone thing? It looks like that's what happened. She's got the whole overdose. Now, we'll get back to that later, but
we're skeptical.
I'm a little skeptical. It's just so obvious in that photo, too.
If she did it herself, or it looks very staged. We've seen this in numerous TV and films. Someone could have definitely got to her and made it look like she killed herself.
Yes, but at the same time, that shot was there, which I thought first to tell the audience, something's up. But it looks like that shot may just be there because Tom shows up a few seconds later. Now, we also found out that Dan O'Brien was in Vegas in '87. Lucy died in '88, so they had a little getting together right then and there.
Yeah, we don't explicitly know that there was overlap, but
he went missing.
They had to have met each other out there in Vegas, so there is a weird connection between those two that we kind of saw. We thought this was definitely a possibility from before.
Now, his body ends up miles away,
but southern Mississippi.
Something happened in Vegas.
And all we know is that his remains were found. I mean, it looks like it was burned or buried or dumped into the countryside. So we don't know how he was killed, and it's very suspicious though that maybe the same person might have done this.
Theory, what if someone's trying to clean up everything that happened, and there's some loose ends here, and Dan and Lucy, maybe two of those loose ends that they got to clean up.
Yeah, you remember Lucy was kind of, she was breaking down at last episode, and if she did know some details on what happened, she might not be able to keep her mouth shut.
No.
And someone that really wants to cover this up needs to kind of, tie up those loose ends and make sure that she doesn't speak.
Okay, now let's go back to Tom. He walks in on the scene. He sees everything on the board. He sees who may be his daughter.
Yeah.
But the thing is about that whole scene, we talked about this before, is do you think Wayne went too far showing Tom the photo?
Does she look familiar?
Shut up.
Here, look close.
Who is this? Is this my baby girl?
Yeah, he's kind of like breaking ranks, right? He's not like kind of doing everything by the book. It seems to me that Wayne has like one priority and one priority only.
He's only back to
And
take
he's
care of this
only
case.
to take care of this case. He wants to find the truth, and that means he'll break any rule that needs to be broken, and he's not going to play it by the book at all. Even Roland is like, what the hell are you doing, man?
Yeah.
You're going to upset Tom Purcell, and we shouldn't be sharing these details. This is stuff that they want to kind of keep close to the vest. But he is just like, screw this. I need to get all the information I can.
This has been boiled up in him for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything ever since then. He's just been at a desk job his
Yeah.
entire time, and now he's got a chance to go back and look up everything that happened. And we're seeing Wayne in this timeline, the 90s. He's a very different Wayne. He resents everything. He feels betrayed by the police. He feels betrayed by even Woodard. We're going to get to that a little later. He feels betrayed by the Purcell family.
Yeah.
Everyone.
And the amazing thing is how Ollie plays this. I mean, even when he's not speaking, without even dialogue, and just how he stands there,
Yeah.
like it exhumes that.
His mannerisms,
His
he
mannerisms,
wants to
it's-
he wants
like,
to scream.
Yeah, he's like all this pent up aggression, and he's just pissed off of how it all went down, 10 years before.
Kind of like a Sidney Poitier in Heat of the Night kind of vibe we're getting here. I love it. All right, let's get back to Woodard now. We had the big shootout. We actually got it now. We finally, season 3 had its big shootout. I am assuming this is it. What'd you think of it?
I thought it was okay. I thought it could have been bigger. We've waited a long time for action for stuff to go down this season.
This
I
felt
feel
like a background thing. Where
Yeah,
let's
I think
just get
it's
it
a
out of the way.
little bit for you guys, for us to check out and see, like, hey, wake up, there's some crazy shit going on.
Action. Oh, here it is.
Yeah,
It's one of those things.
One of my favorite shootouts that I've seen this year was in Jeremy Saulnier's Hold the Dark on Netflix, and there's a crazy shootout in like a small town, and this was like a mini version of that. This wasn't even close to that. If you've seen that shootout, like I highly recommend. It was just like extremely brutal, but also very well directed. This one, you can sense, Woodard and all of what he's going through and how pissed off he is at the community and let down and betrayed by, fellow patriots. And it's just time to get back, and he wasn't going to take any prisoners. What did you think about the exchange between him and Wayne?
The old vet exchange.
Yeah, and
right
he
then and there.
basically said, like, I had a chance to take you out, but I just kind of gave you a little warning.
Yeah, he tells him like straight up, "You're gonna put this on me." I love the whole scene, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Well, I'm gonna count to 3 in my head." So at that point, he could have just shot him in both kneecaps, but you never know. He's a soldier.
Right.
Any point he can turn on him. So
Woodard
he
didn't
not-
want it to all work out.
Yeah, there's nothing he could have did there.
You gonna put this on me, huh?
Nobody made you take the job?
I'll put one in your knee.
Now I'll kill you. I'm gonna count to 3 in my head. And when I hit 3, I'm gonna give you a full burst.
Now, also during the shootout, we see Roland takes one to the leg.
Bam! And yeah, so that's where that.
That's the reason why the limp was in the later timelines. We were wondering why, what had happened, and basically, he takes a bad shot to the leg. The exchange there is pretty funny. Like, he's not. I'm gonna stay right here. I'm not even moving.
Where do you think I'm gonna go?
Now, this obviously also confirms that one of those hallucinations, those ghosts that Wayne saw in 2015, was in fact Brett Woodard. It was
He's hidden.
hard to
He's
see
hidden.
in that first viewing, but now you know that this is one of the many people, handful of people that Wayne has
has killed.
unfortunately had to kill, and he still haunts him in 2015. He resents that he had to even do that.
Yes, carrying his water. Okay, we can confirm now that Woodard was the guy they wrongly convicted in the 80s.
Yeah, and his kids are trying to get his name cleared.
Uh-huh.
They were just looking for a quick scapegoat. They were looking for, and we find out later that there was some reason for that. But they were looking for someone to pin this case on.
He shot cops, he killed a cop.
Yep.
Yeah,
Not
he
saying he's
shot up
completely
the town.
innocent, but like he doesn't mean that he killed
It's
Will.
one of
and
those things where they
Dr.
can now, two birds with one stone.
Right.
Even being a lawyer, you ought to know this is out of line.
My press is the only language he understands. You're telling me you didn't enjoy that look on his face?
It's not about you or your old boss. Maybe consider that man trying to get his daughter back.
Question, they say later on that a lot of people died here in this whole thing. And I keep looking at the defense attorney for the case, I guess for the Woodard kids, Alan Jones. I keep thinking, is he gonna make it? I feel like this is somebody who's poking a bear a little too hard
Yeah,
here.
they don't want him to be speaking.
Yeah, I don't think so. Still in the 90s here, and we're checking back in on now Freddie Burns. It looks like 10 years later. The last time they saw him was during the interrogation.
And he has not let that go.
Oh, God,
that has
no.
definitely affected him in his day-to-day life. It was traumatizing to say the least.
Yes, they told the child that two police officers locked him in a room and told him you're gonna be raped in prison.
Right.
So that's gonna have some effects on you years later, all right? No matter what.
If you think there's something you can do to me, you might want to take another look at my life.
Hold on now. Mr. Burns, I understand your hard feelings.
Again, Hayes seems to be oblivious to all of this.
Right.
He just wants to find the girl.
He's in one mode.
He's in one mode, and you're just looking at it's like uncomfortable too, watching the
Definitely,
scene going
definitely.
through. He ruined this kid's life.
Yeah.
There's nothing about that you can go like, hey, you got to do what you got to do. He ruined this child's life.
Totally, and I thought the exchange that Freddie Burns and him had, about when Wayne said, hey, you were bullying little kids, and he's like, well, I was a teenager.
Yeah, what
What's
was your
your excuse?
Things might be what they are. Because you're the type like bullying somebody weaker than you.
And you don't? I was a teenager, me. What's your excuse?
Freddie does have a point, though. Like he was a young kid at the time, messing around with even younger kids. It happens to all of us with bullies in school. But Wayne was doing that to everybody because he was in a position of power and he could do that. So kudos to Freddie for speaking up. We also learned during that whole sequence that Freddie does still remember certain details to the case. He
said
remembers that day. Yeah, he remembers that Will was looking for his sister and that they were looking for her. We don't know who the they is, but it sounds like the people that she was meeting in the forest for however many months
Either
or years.
other kids or whoever the perps are. We'll see. Next up, Wayne and Roland are interviewing this, should we say a drifter, I guess. He says he has information on her, but there's a reward out there. Keep this in mind.
Yeah, keep the motives in mind. Yeah.
Keep that motive in mind because he says a lot of things here that could obviously be pulled from stuff you just hear about the case itself. So there are little things here that kind of put holes in this theory. But he does say, hey, I saw her. I saw the girl here, and she's a little off.
Yeah,
She's
she's a
not
little
all
off. She
there.
calls herself Mary July.
Yes.
She's not a drug user, but she's been there for quite some time, in and out of his life. They come across each other, and she was always looking for something, which he says obviously a lot of people in this situation were looking for or running away from, but she was looking for her brother still.
Mm-hmm. Again, it could be, I get in the pit of my stomach, I feel like this isn't Julie. I just feel like the way that they're trying to hunt her down, the way that Wayne's really gung-ho about this, I feel like this is setting up a moment where he finds the girl, turns her around, you get that moment, and it's not her. It's someone else who's suffering right now. But we'll see. I just don't think it's her.
Yeah, she also mentioned that she called herself a secret princess.
All the things from the drawings.
All these, yeah, it was almost like someone that didn't fully grow up, and they still had this fantasy and this imagination that kind of like their imagination was maybe stifled because of what happened to them earlier at a younger age, and and they're still living in this kind of fantasy.
Yeah.
Who knows if someone had put that fantasy upon them or kind of brainwashed them into thinking a certain way, but she's. If we are to believe this guy, which we don't really.
Not really.
She's out there. She seems like she is still looking for her brother, and she doesn't really trust a whole lot of people. Now in 2015, we get some new information. Ms. Montgomery tells us that Harris James,
Yes, Harris James.
who was working on the case in the 80s, is missing. Is presumed to be dead. We have no idea. And suspiciously, a lot of people from this time period are no longer with us.
They're gone. They're dead or missing.
Wayne, I was specifically paying close attention to Wayne's reaction during this time.
His look,
Because, there's two things at play here. One, he's honest and he does not know what happened. Or two, which I'm in the camp on this side, is that he knows exactly what happened and he's trying not to reveal it.
Yes. There are definitely pieces of this case that they're trying to keep away from Eliza. It looks like he may just be doing this whole thing with her to see how much she knows. But at the same time, it's kind of scary because of his disease right now. You never know what he can just all of a sudden say, yeah, sure, I know that guy.
Right, and also it's funny you bring that up because what's interesting is that she might know things that he doesn't know as well. So it's like this exchange of information between these two parties where they're not trying to show their full hand yet, for obvious reasons.
Henry was right here. He shouldn't have done this interview, but we'll see where this goes.
Okay, now over in 1990, this is the dinner date from hell. Have you ever been on a date this bad?
No.
Neither have I.
No.
I
try to avoid it.
That was extremely tense and awkward,
God.
to say the least.
Ugh.
What I've been up to.
What'd you study?
Poultry science?
They make rocket fuel out of chickens.
What are you talking about?
Jesus, you don't quit.
That reminds me a lot of I think, the all-time greatest episode of The Office ever.
Will you not do that? It's disgusting.
You know I have soft teeth. How could you say that?
Oops.
Excuse me for a second.
Now we can confirm one more thing. Roland picked that girl up at the church.
It was the same girl. So
Lori.
I wondered why in the last episode when they had the little shot of the woman in the photo in his office, in Roland's office, and I thought, I wonder if it's the same girl he met at the church. Turns out it was.
That's Lori that he was picking up at the church, and they've had kind of some on and off years, and they're together right now, inviting their friends over for dinner. But, Wayne is, how do I say this, difficult.
Okay, you think I'm crazy for this. I'd have to bring it up. Lori, can we throw her on the board now? Can we do it? I feel like Lori has a bigger case here. I'll bring it up again later on when we talk to the older, the 2015 version of Roland and Wayne. I just feel like Lori,
I think it would be
something's there.
I think it'd be such a bad payoff if it
If
just
it's
turned
her?
up to be Lori.
Just keep it in mind.
I just think that would be such a weird payoff if that ended up being if she was involved.
Why would Roland not bring up Lori though at all in 2015? They never got married, so I can understand that. If the context here was, we'll come back to it.
I think the fact is that this case has literally destroyed the lives of everyone who's been around it. So I don't think it's a matter of mentioning any ex-wife or girlfriend. I think that Roland's alone for the same reason why Wayne's alone, that this consumed so much of their lives, and something horrific still we haven't seen yet has happened, and that it's destroyed any semblance of friendships with other people.
Yeah. Okay, so Wayne finally reads Amelia's book in his 70s now. All right, cool.
So we have to think it's been almost probably over 20 years, 25 years that it's been on there? 20 years? Because she hadn't finished it in 1990, but she was close to finishing it probably. So it's been, 15, 20 years, and he never touched the book, and I'm sure there were drafts before that he could have read. I find it shocking that he never looked for another perspective on the case he was working.
I feel like he knew bits and pieces, but never really went into it because he
the
thought he knew it all.
Right, he never took her serious as someone that could gather information and kind of put it together in an organized way. But bro, get the Audible version or something.
And clutched her chest. This wasn't a happy home. Children should laugh, you know. And there wasn't much laughter around here.
Okay, so a lot of people picked this up in the last episode, that a certain line that Lucy said, children should laugh and play, and guess what? Yes, that's the exact same thing that's on that note.
Right.
He figures it out finally. Amelia could have, brought that up
That seems
earlier,
like pertinent
still.
information that you would have needed to know back in the time when they were doing it, right?
If she knew, I'm going to put this in the book, the exact line.
Well, and I'm also questioning Amelia. Like, why didn't, after that conversation with Lucy back in 1990, why didn't she go around and then, we know their marriage was on the rocks, but like that information, when all she said to Lucy was, you should go talk to Detective Hayes. She also she should have went out. She should have went there and said something to him.
There's a child missing.
Right.
And now you may have big, major evidence.
Right. She said the line that literally was in the note. So what it sounds like we learn later is that Lucy was behind that note in order to kind of give Tom some relief.
This doesn't make any sense. For the fact is, she knows about that note. Wayne talks about that note all the time. He's back on the case now. So even in the 90s, Amelia could have brought up that same line.
Right.
When she saw the note and she put it in her book. So the fact that Wayne doesn't know this, that's a little, that might be his memory or something else is up there. Let's stick with Wayne and Amelia for a second here. Let's actually talk about Becca. There's a theory out there that Becca, she may actually be dead. I believe this. There's little clues here that she might not be around, and this may just be a part of Wayne's psychosis at this part of his life in 2015, that he thinks she's still around, and she may have died years earlier.
I don't know if I feel that she's dead, but I think that they definitely had a falling out, and that she no longer speaks to her dad, and that Henry's the conduit that has kind of taken place to take care of his dad and kind of relay any information.
And she just wants to stay away. She does not want to do that.
She just wants. Now that means something really big and horrific happened in the interim that would make her want to stay away, but. Remember, like, these kids are of a similar age during the time that he's working on this case with these kids as well. So he's dealing with a trauma at work, and it's probably affected, as we've seen on all the flashbacks, it's affected his family life. So how he's treated his own kids and how he freaked out even in the Walmart could be terrifying, and who knows what that then elevated to the next time it happened.
Yes, and at the same time, now we do know that they did cast an older Becca, so she's going to show up at some point in the future episodes.
Is it a hallucination?
Exactly. That's the next thing I think. Could it just be a hallucination of her? We don't know yet. We'll find out. Okay, so now we're going between 2015 and 1990, and almost like a Westworld-y vibe. You don't know what's going on, and you
all
feel
happening
like,
at once.
Yeah, you're like, oh God, here we go, the dimension stuff again. But I think I know what was happening here.
Okay.
All right. So Wayne's walking down the hallway. He's tripping out a little bit in his mind from 2015. I don't think there's any weird, different timeline at play here in this scene. I think when he opens the door and he's looking out at his family because he's just remembering everything in his mind again, he's just locked back into that 90s memory of himself, and the door opening is just him looking back at himself. He's in his own memory.
Right. It's not like a house is haunted. His perception of reality is
it's all over the
a
place.
Mixture of many different years throughout his life.
Yes. Another vibe I got out of that scene is for my David Lynch fans out there, Lost Highway. Now, saying that, it's going to make some people scream because I hope that's not where Pizzolatto's going with the story, because then you're just going to go crazy town. Because in that story, the actual main character, he literally changes actors halfway through the film. So if I'm just curious, that guy outside, is that really Wayne? Could we do something like that? Are we gonna have some weird stuff go on? I would love it. I know everyone else, and I would be doing these reviews by myself from here on out if that happened. But
might be a little bit too weird for this show.
Hey, Pizzolatto has paid homage to David Lynch on many occasions, including season 2 and my favorite scene of all True Detective, actually. Again, season 2 is not that bad. Season 2 is not that bad. But this scene is incredible.
You got your father's hands.
All right, now in 1990, after they reopened the case, they're looking for this unknown set of prints that were on the toys that were recovered in the forest. Problem is that Wayne can't find those prints. He's literally looking back in the police department archives, and the prints are gone. How convenient that they're gone.
Now, did he dispose of them himself?
That's a good question. We don't know, right? We don't know if it's him that is kind of putting up this whole front, or he doesn't remember physically doing this. But remember, he recovered those toys from the forest.
Yeah.
He put them there. They were unknown fingerprints that they wanted to kind of run through the database again. Higher powers could have done that as well, though. More cover-up.
Speaking of cover-up, let's go back to 1980 after the Woodard shootout.
Yep.
Oh, how convenient. We found the shirt of Julie inside of like a little, like whatever that thing was, that little like outdoor
Furnace thing?
Furnace, yeah. And then they found, underneath the floorboards in front of the house, Will's pristine backpack.
Pristine, guys. Take a look at that. That looks spotless. It looks like a brand new, like you just bought it at Target or
Good
Walmart.
job, everybody.
You just bought it at Walmart and you put it underneath there. Yeah, this was, it looks like from the get-go, before we even find out later, the whole theory that Wayne has, I was like, that is way too perfect for it to all tie together. And
From that explosion?
Yeah, this is why it's a complete cover-up by either the cops or someone in power, the Hoyt family, who knows. But yeah, it's too perfect for it to actually be what happened that day. Now, one thing we can confirm is that the missing investigator, Harris, the one that goes missing sometime between the 90s and 2015, he was there that day when the backpack was discovered. So my initial reaction was, he's definitely involved in this.
He did it.
And Wayne, at some point that we're gonna find out in the next couple episodes, Wayne finds out about this, approaches him, and some shit goes down.
He doesn't make it out of it alive, somehow, some way.
I believe,
Maybe Roland did it. We don't know that just yet, but it's definitely 100% Harris, I think, dropped that
They
stuff
had an
there.
inside man or woman on the police force that was able to, plant that evidence.
He says, oh, that looks like that boy's backpack. Why would you say that? At that, taking it back to the lab first, checking stuff out and confirming. What he just straight up says, oh, that looks like the kid's
He's been
backpack.
memorizing the backpack, yeah.
Yep. All right, let's go back to 2015. The second they showed just the close-ups of like preparing the dog food, and then they had the coffee, and then the bottle of whiskey goes in. I'm like, Roland, he's alive. He's still alive, and yes, and he's still kicking it, but with just stray dogs now. He's living out in the forest or somewhere out away from the city. And he's just with dogs now, and he's just living his own life, his best life.
Look here. Another stray. True. He's got flaws, but we'll hear him out.
Now, Roland and Wayne don't have quite the relationship they did in years past. It seems like it'd been quite some time since they last saw each other. And Roland was kind of in need of an apology for something that Wayne did. But Wayne doesn't know what exactly he did.
Yeah, his mind's not there anymore.
His mind's not there anymore, and I feel like something horrible went down between these two, that they went so far as to take justice into their own hands, possibly, and it...
A la season 1 kind of vibe here,
Yeah.
taking it in your own hand. Yes, I think that's where we're going. We don't know what.
Exactly.
But he does say again that he owes him an apology for something else, though, because I feel like those are two separate things. Maybe it could be because he ghosted him for so many years afterwards. He says, you never came over to visit me. Speaking of that whole thing, that exchange between the two of them at the end was so good, so heartbreaking, and the acting, again, from both these guys is top-notch. Now, one thing we have to shed some light on here, and that whole exchange between Roland and Wayne in 2015, they bring up some names.
Right.
Now, they bring up Harris's name, and they bring up Dan's name, and Roland says to him, that guy you brought
That you
up.
mentioned, yeah.
Is he talking about Dan or Harris? Either now.
Something
it could be
nefarious
either one
happened
of them.
between with
Yes.
one of those those men. Like, they did something with using justice in their own hands, and it doesn't sit well with either of these guys. But Roland more specifically, because Roland can remember it. Wayne maybe have blocked it out or is losing his memory of exactly what happened.
It looks more like it's a Harris thing, and he's telling him to shut the hell up. Again, I feel like I'm the same way here right now with Wayne.
Don't be making a documentary.
Wayne needs to stop what he's doing right now in this documentary. After this, the scene with Roland confirmed it to me. Like, Wayne, he's got to shut up. He has to shut his big mouth and
Should
stop
not
talking
be
to
drawing any
Eliza.
attention to anything that they're involved in.
I'm fine. Alone out here. No woman. No kids. And no old friends.
Now, finally on that scene, just a theory, and it's a really heartbreaking one, is that the reason that Roland and Wayne haven't talked to each other or spoken since the 90s, sometime in the 90s, is because he brings up the fact that he saw Hoyt. Hoyt came to visit him.
Mm-hmm.
That scene could be something involving Hoyt telling him, listen, you've gone in too deep. This is Chinatown, and people in your life are gonna be destroyed. He's gonna go. He could tell him anything.
Right.
But I feel like out of that exchange, Wayne knew that he needs to stop talking to Roland. He may have just stayed away from everyone to save their lives from whatever's happening here.
Wayne kind of did downplay that meeting, though.
Yes.
Only to Roland, obviously, which he would if that was the truth that you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of downplayed that, like, he didn't really know. He didn't give me any information that I didn't already know. Now, Wayne could have also then dealt with the man in a different way that didn't want to share with anybody, and kind of then forced himself to take a step back from anything.
I feel like he's staying away to protect everyone else here. He knows.
Only bad can come from anything.
If he goes any farther in this case, and if he was told just to stay away from Roland, everybody.
Now let's wrap up in the 1990s, and they get a tip on the hotline. They get a phone call from a woman that says she is basically Julie, and she does not want anyone to look for her, that she's okay, and tell the man specifically on the TV, that's Tom Purcell, to stop going on TV and asking for his daughter. How'd you take this one?
I keep thinking, is it her? Is it really her?
Right.
That's the first thing that comes to mind.
Or is someone forcing her to say these things?
It could be that too. It could be someone else.
We've seen that in so many different movies with kidnappings and ransoms, but what could Tom have done to her that was so horrific that would want her to stay away?
They keep circling back around to this pedophile thing too. So we always think it's going to be Dan. If we find out it may have Dan have done something to Julie.
Yeah.
It could be Tom too. This could be something, again, why would the kids run away? So it looks like something there about having the kids run away tells me that something like that could have taken place. Something involving either the dad was with the girl, or it could have been, again, Dan, and she just resents everybody for what happened.
Yeah.
But
definitely a possibility. I mean, it sounds like there's a much darker, more sinister thing going on with the family. And like we've learned from the very first episode, we really can't trust anyone, no matter if we see Tom Purcell in hysterics.
Now, Lucy,
those could be crocodile tears. We don't.
Yes.
We don't know exactly what happened.
I feel like Tom, he may have a bigger hand in this, or at least the police think he does now. That's what we established in this scene too, is the police are now, looks like they're zoning in on him.
Why would you receive this phone call from your estranged daughter?
And now this also gives them their out if they want to go back and say, oh, it wasn't Woodard. We actually got him. It's Tom, at least for the Attorney General. So we'll see.
Julie, or whoever is on this phone call, also says that, quote, he took me and I'm never coming back. She feels, that's what I initially thought, like she feels that someone saved her from the situation she was in, and, unbeknownst to her, her brother died in the process. Maybe it was an accident. We talked about this before. Maybe he died accidentally. She was already kind of whisked away and brought somewhere else. And she feels like, we don't know if this is true or not, but she feels that she was saved from the situation.
But then if we're taking this as she was, like, again, a drifter herself, then what the hell happened with her and Hoyt and the relationship there? And they, like, these are wealthy people. They can find a home for her. So again, it looks like something in between there. There was another cross. Something else happened where another person came involved here and maybe clipped someone else who's supposed to take her to the Hoyts.
Guys, let's wrap it up with one more fun Easter egg that you and I both enjoyed. Now, it wasn't in this episode 5, but we saw it in the episode 5 trailer that shows scenes of kind of what's going to happen for the rest of the season of True Detective. One specific shot of Miss Montgomery filming the documentary series with Wayne, we see her laptop opened. And there are 2 familiar faces on this laptop from season 1.
Russ and Marty.
Yeah, so it proves that we're in the same universe as the True Detective season 1, and
it kind of
who knows,
finally
possibly
confirms
2.
it.
But this took place before episode 1 did, but by the 90s and then 2015,
it's caught up.
Those had been wrapped up. Yeah. So these timelines, they overlap. The regions, they feel eerily similar to each other. So it was a fun. I thought it was just an Easter egg and nothing else.
It's nothing more than a cool Easter egg. It's literally for us, people like us.
And the themes are similar with the pedophilia rings that are going on, and the people in large amounts of power taking advantage of the less fortunate in these regions of the U.S. So there's similar themes, but I think it was more of just, hey, fun little nod to the season 1 guys. You know, they are executive producers.
They're not showing up again. They did something like this in season 2 as well, where they had the 2 empty director-producer chairs to represent them for the season. Also in that episode, you got which a little bit of a vanity thing, because that was the episode where they revealed the killer somewhere in it. So they're doing it again this season. I feel like they're going to get some shot of them every season for when we have another season of True Detective.
We need those beer cans to come back.
Beer cans. You may even just get one of the characters to walk in frame at something, you know, like a police office. We'll see. I feel like stuff like that will happen all the time, but when it comes to like an actual, like, you know, event where they're together, not for some time.
I know who I am. After all these years, there's a victory in that.
That'll do it for us for this breakdown of episode 5, but come back next week for episode 6's breakdown.
Now make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it yet, and at the same time, let's leave you with some words of wisdom from Frank.
Wisdom? Really?
It just seems to me like you pissed off some serious people. Maybe you ought to take more care. Just a thought, pal.